Wait a second. Welcome to my talk about how I built a Sapper blog with all the must-have features. I decided to do this talk because on the web, when I was building my own website and blog, I was not able to find any in-detail blog built with Sapper. So most of the templates or boilerplates that were available only solved like one kind of problem or had one feature. So the agenda for today is first I'm gonna explain something about me and what my background is. Then we're gonna have an introduction to why I even chose Sapper and not one of the other static site generators that are out there. I'm gonna explain which features are essential for a blog. I'm gonna show you how to even start a Sapper project, because there's already quite a lot of boilerplates out there that basically help you not doing everything from scratch. And last but not least, I'm going to explain the features that I still plan to add to the website, and also features that are unfortunately currently blocked by development issues. Yeah, so first about me. I'm a web developer with around 4 years of experience. I worked with Angular, React, Vue, React Native, and now finally Svelte. So I think I can say I know how good code looks like, how bad code looks like. And so far, Svelte is really the best choice out of them. I'm about to become a freelancer beginning of the next year. And since I thought, okay, I have to be available on the internet also for potential clients, why not also start blogging about programming? Because now I think I got enough experience. I have a lot of things to say. So you can find on my website, markushatvan.com, you can find articles about programming and lifestyle related topics. And I was lucky enough that some of my articles also were published already on Free Code Camp, HackerNoon, Codeburst, and also in some publications of Medium. And I first discovered Svelte at the beginning of 2020, and it really was love at first sight, because I also, like other people probably, I went through the Svelte tutorial on the website, and it just made so much sense and was so much simpler than other solutions or other JavaScript frameworks out there. And really all of the concepts were easy to understand. And yeah, that's kind of why I decided that I wanted to have something built with Svelte. Here you can see a word cloud of different static site generator solutions that are out there. On the website StaticGen, you can find, I think there's around 100 solutions or more. So this is only a small sub-selection. And I could have gone for like a big project like Gatsby, Next, Nux, something like that. But in the end, I decided to take Sapper. So why did I choose Sapper and not something else? First of all, like I said before, I wanted to have a project based on Svelte in production. And since Svelte has an easy syntax and it's high performance and has a small bundle size, it was like the perfect candidate to build something on top of it. And also to increase the developer experience, it's awesome to have built-in accessibility checks and also unused CSS detection. And I mean, you could start a website with Svelte, with pure Svelte, but Sapper is awesome because it has all of these optimizations that you need out of the box. And that includes, for example, code splitting. You have offline support with a service worker. You can build, you have differential bundling. So you would build a bundle for modern browsers and one for older browsers. That is all done for you. You can just profit from it. And it's server rendered views with client-side hydration. And it also has link prefetching, which makes navigations faster between pages. And if you want to know more about why I didn't choose Gatsby or the other solutions, I kind of put down my thought process behind it on a blog post on my website. And one thing that I think is important to know is that Sapper is not yet major version 1 or higher. So, it's like, I think 0.28 something at the moment, but it's already super stable and reliable, and I don't have many issues. You will see some of them at the end of the talk, but most of it is just working super nicely and performant. But I personally think that the core team should think about bumping major version 1 to major version 1, because it's also showing the intent, and it's showing potential interested developers that, okay, it's definitely production ready. But I also understand that the core team wants to keep it below version 1 to keep the flexibility with changing around the API. So which features are essential for a modern blog? I think it's great if you can use Markdown for writing the blog content, and also ideally have a front matter, and be able to use components in Markdown. I think it's super important to have optimized and lazy loaded images, because if they're small size and if they're lazy loaded, you don't put so much pressure on the user to have a lot of download capacity. And we also want to have like a modern web format, a modern image format like WebP, and also ideally different sizes per breakpoint. So if a user is only visiting your website on mobile, he doesn't have to load everything that would be like a bigger image. And since my blog is programming related, it's great to have syntax highlighting for code snippets. And from the developer side, I definitely wanted to have Typescript support. Its Typescript support got added to Svelte and Sapper a couple of months ago, so it's perfect. And since I'm based in Europe, I had to add a GDPR compliant cookie notice. And to be able to be scrapable on the web, it's good to have an RSS feed, and to have the website be crawled by the Googlebot. I wanted to have a sitemap that has all of the necessary sites in it. And what's also important for getting found on the net is to have meta tags for SEO purposes, like open graph tags to have like your blog posts be displayed in a nice card on Facebook, and the same for Twitter tags. So how do you actually start a Sapper project? Nowadays, there are various boilerplates available for you that you can use. You can find them on the GitHub link of Svelte integrations repository. You can find starters for TypeScript, Firebase, GraphQL, Tailwind CSS, and many more. But I started my project already in May, I think, and I didn't investigate into the boilerplates that are available. So I started just with the official Sapper template. You can start the project with Webpack or with Rollup, and I decided to use Rollup because it's also a project that was invented by Rich Harris, the creator of Svelte. So I can always be sure that there must be some kind of compatibility that is guaranteed. And since I used the official Sapper template, which is like unopinionated, I had to figure out a lot of stuff myself, but I learned a lot from it, of course. And I think things that could be added to the Sapper template would be like an easy way to generate an RSS feed or a sitemap out of the box. And there's also the SEO tags that are lacking, and there could be more SEO tags already provided for you. So what does actually a Sapper project look like? I prepared a little showcase for you, and you can also, I will share the slides, and you can either take a look at my website directly or check out my GitHub repository, and it's fine if you steal some code. Yeah, I will show you first some VS Code stuff, so the actual code in the project, and then show you a walkthrough of the website. So I like to start going through the project, starting in the Packagejson as an entry point. So you see, for a nice little Sapper project, you don't need many scripts. I have here a Sapper dev, which runs the development server, and an unoptimized bundle. and usually I run just yarn dev, and which gives me in parallel starting the server and also validating with Svelte check, and also linting the whole code for potential errors. And I also have a production script that is building it with the legacy flag, which is responsible for having like a modern browser output and a legacy browser output. And you can also export, like with Sapper export, which basically you can use if your website is really like static and you don't have many dynamic things going on. And so before we said it would be great to have Markdown files that support components and also front matter. So this is not a simple Markdown file, but it's like an SVX. This is coming from the Svelte library called MDSVEX. So yeah, we can profit here from front matter, like you can see here, and to have like optimized images and lazy loaded images, I'm using Svelte image. It's also a great library and works right out of the box. You just give it the source and it's doing most work for you. I also said that it would be great to have some TypeScript support. This is a file that I mostly typed, like most of the stuff is covered here. And you see here we have an external interface that gets imported. And you can also see if I change string here to a number, we would get the IDE error squiggle lines, and it's telling you that it shouldn't be a number but a string. The next thing that I also needed, unfortunately, is the GDPR compliant cookie notice. This is basically all the logic that I needed to support that. So the cookie notice is already automatically not displayed when the user has do not track enabled. And we just run Google Analytics, the actual component, when the user didn't opt out and when the user explicitly gave consent to it. And the Google Analytics script itself is quite simple. So what we need to be GDPR compliant is to anonymize the IP and to set the cookie flags to be same site none and secure true. And on mount, it's simply creating the script and running the page hit to get to collect the page view. And then on every page navigation change, you would collect another page hit. Yeah, about the RSS feed. So this is kind of based on an example of Rich Harris himself. He posted it on Stack Overflow and I kind of had to adapt it a bit, but it works fine. I didn't have any issues so far. And then there's also the sitemap, which I had to modify quite a bit because it's also generating the site URLs for categories, so blog post categories and blog post tags, and then also mapping over it and rendering it to the page, to a file. And last but not least, I had to do a lot of work to get all of the, like you can see here, all of the open graph tags and all of the Twitter card tags working. So yeah, you can, if you need something like that, you can also copy it from my project. And what's important here, for example, is that I had to initialize the script basically, and it's setting the content, the text content here dynamically based on which page it's visiting. And so now for a bit of a showcase of the actual project here. So this is like the root page of my project, and I'm gonna show you like the network tab and the amount of requests and just how small the actual size is. So you can see, oh, this is a cookie notice. You can see here it's only doing 22 requests, and we're only loading a total of 160 KB for the whole website. So let's say we compare it to a WordPress project. The WordPress project is typically loading around, it's doing around 90 requests and definitely probably loading around 1 megabyte of data. So that's a big improvement. And I could even save like a couple more requests here because there's 3 individual requests for Google Fonts alone. So yeah, it's really nice and optimized. And I'm gonna show you the link prefetching. So if you hover over here, let's say we want to go to the About page, as soon as I hover over here, we can see in the Network tab that the resources for that specific page gets preloaded. Same for when I hover over recommendations or when I hover over contact. So that's also nice, and that leads to almost instant navigation. If you see here, if I'm switching the pages, it's like super fast, and also on the mobile, it's a great experience. Yeah, and to show you the lazy loading, I can go to this blog post that I wrote. It's quite a long one. It's like 18 minutes, and I put some images in here. So you can see on the right side, it's loading the image in WebP format. It's only 15 KB in size, and it's doing all of that super nicely when I scroll through the project. So I didn't have to do any additional work for that. And I also said it would be super great to have some kind of syntax highlighting for the programming related ones. So you can see here, this is done with Prism.js, and also here and here and here. The only problem I had so far is this is now highlighted as an HTML file, even though it's like a Svelte file. But there was some issue with the Prism Svelte library, and I will see that I can get someone to fix that. Yeah, and the cookie notice you already saw, and RSS feed is also working without any issues. So this is the RSS feed, and the sitemap is also generated on any load. So back to the code. So there's still a couple of features that I would like to add to the blog to be more powerful. One of that is I want the user to be able to download a blog post as a PDF, especially for the longer blog posts like contributing to open source. Could be great for the user to have like as a PDF, and then he can side by side do a pull request for the first time and read through the PDF. I also want to add a Lighthouse score, because the Lighthouse score currently is almost 100 on all four of the categories. And there's Speedlify, and it's a nice tool that can make that possible for you. So that would be great also if potential clients come to the website, that they can just see, okay, wow, this guy really takes performance seriously. And I also want to add web mention IO for social shares. So what it does basically is it collects mentions and likes and Twitter shares from all over the web, and you can display it nicely. And I'm also planning on adding a separate page with the freelancer services that I offer as soon as I'm starting that. Unfortunately, like I said, there's also a couple of features that I cannot implement yet because they're blocked. So it would be great for these longer blog posts to have a table of contents, so you can just click it and jump to the respective headings. But currently, anchor links are a bit of a problem because they only go back to the root page, and you would like jump from to another page. But there's an open issue for it, and I think the guys are working on it. Unfortunately, also Svelte image currently only supports a hard-coded file path. So you cannot do like an each loop and then loop over the image source, but you have to find a way of putting the hard-coded file name in there. But I'm sure this will also be solved in a short amount of time. And I also had issues with implementing content security policy nonces for the script and style tags. And there's a couple more issues open. But I think there's there's a release coming on Sapper that fixes a couple of these issues. It's just not released yet. And I decided to comment out for now the service worker, because it was just greedily downloading the whole static folder. And I don't want the user to have to download like 20 megabytes just on the first page visit. And you never know, maybe he doesn't even go to all of these pages. So I commented out for now, and I will maybe wait either for a custom solution by the Sapper team or add a workbox. In case you liked my talk, I also had another talk a while ago. It was about boosting your web development efficiency. I presented it at Angular Vienna, but it's actually not really specific to Angular, so I'm sure you can also profit from it. And on the bottom here, you can find the recording itself and also the slides. And it would be great to connect with some of you, and I gave you here the link to my website, email, Twitter, or LinkedIn as opportunity. And if you have any questions, just ask away. And thank you for your attention.